Hey everyone, Chief Meteorologist Aaron White here. Just going to talk about some of the flooding that's been going on here today that we've seen across southern Minnesota and north Iowa from all the heavy rainfall over the past 24 hours. Now I'm here in Austin, as you can kind of see behind me, that a section of Interstate 90 was closed earlier today due to the floodwaters that are still covering part of the interstate, at least here on the eastbound side, the eastbound lanes of Interstate 90. Now the floodwaters have receded just enough to allow the cars to pass through, as we're only seeing just a few inches of water covering the interstate at the present time. So conditions are improving, and some of the emergency management are allowing some of the vehicles to pass rather slowly here through some of the floodwaters that still continue on Interstate 90. Again, as of what I've seen so far here, this is only affecting the eastbound lanes. The westbound side has still a little bit of water, but it isn't as much as we are seeing, at least here on the eastbound side, going from Austin and heading towards Dexter on Interstate 90. Now, this is only a small section here. This is just off of the exit, just on the east side of Austin, where we are seeing just a small stretch of where the floodwaters are actually currently going through. So I'm going to flip the camera around here just to give you a better idea of what we're seeing. So you'll notice here, we got the flooding off on the side of the interstate here, just near the exit ramp. It does cover the on-ramp, I should say, not the exit ramp, the on-ramp to get onto Interstate 90 eastbound here. And we're seeing at least, some cars coming through here. The water just only just a few inches deep here. It does start just past the bridge and does continue on for at least I would say less than a quarter of a mile. So it is just a rather short stretch here before conditions actually are getting a little bit better there, as we are again moving from the east side of Austin and going towards Dexter. So this area did receive quite a bit of rainfall last night, where there were flash flood warnings that were issued here just after midnight for Mower County, as we had already seen quite a bit of rainfall during the daytime hours on Friday, and then rain really ramped up through the night and continued even into the early morning hours here. Now this section of Interstate 90 was closed when the flash flood warning was issued, as there was a report of at least a few feet of moving water covering the interstate here last night just after midnight. So the section of interstate was closed for quite a while before we've seen these floodwaters begin to recede and conditions improving to at least allow some vehicles to pass here today. So, and it's not just this area, not just Austin that we're talking about floodwaters. We've seen flooding in all parts of southern Minnesota and north Iowa, and this is just flooding covering some streets and some of the interstates, and also some basements that have been flooded. But we've also been talking about potential, and not really potential, but likelihood of river flooding happening over the course of the next few days, because all that water, it's got to go somewhere. So all this water is going into the creeks, the streams, going into the rivers, and those smaller rivers are going into the larger rivers, such as the Mississippi, where we're going to be talking about a lot of flooding happening here over the course of the next few days. So all the water, again, is going to be going somewhere, leading to more flooding problems across parts of the upper Midwest, including here in Iowa, Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin, that are going to be seeing some of that flooding on the Mississippi River, and even some of the smaller rivers. The Zumber River, we're talking about potential flooding. We're talking about flooding happening on the Cedar River through Charles City here over the course of the next couple of days, as those waters are going to be starting to get a little bit higher. The river levels are rising. So the Cedar River, we were talking about some flooding here on some of the rivers, even in around Austin. Just some of the creeks here on the west side of Austin, going to be seeing at least those waters continuing to rise here through the next 24 to 48 hours, as we're almost done with the heavy rain. We do still have at least some showers and storms in the forecast today. The good news with that is that the higher threat for the heavy rainfall and even severe weather, that has shifted a bit further to the south and east, more into eastern parts of Iowa and Wisconsin. So that's good news. That means that we may end up dodging some of the heavy rainfall here today to worsen some of the conditions. But again, as you can see behind me here, conditions were pretty bad, as we've been tracking all this heavy rainfall leading to flooding on interstates and roads, and even into some basements here across Minnesota and Iowa. So we're going to be continuing to follow this all day today here with the heavy rainfall, the flooding, so you make sure to stay with KIMT News 3 for the latest. We're going to have updates on all this tonight on our newscast at 6 and 10 o'clock as we're talking about that potential for some more rain here today. Not as much, but showers and storms are still in the forecast for some areas here on Saturday. And then we're going to be talking about river flooding being a concern over the course of the next few days. So again, we'll have updates here tonight on KIMT News 3 at 6 and 10.